Hello, everyone. How are we doing today? I hope everybody is well. And today I'm going to do a recap real quick, and then we're going to jump right into it. I'm going to end this on 6 because I'm doing 1 through 6, which is combined in what I'm watching. And then I'll jump on to 7 and wherever that takes me. And I'll try to keep, like I said, more count of where I'm at. Today I got really confused. My notes got messed up. I had to try to figure out what page went before what page. It was a nightmare. I forgot to number my pages like I usually do. And it caused me some grief, which they are now all numbered and will continue to be. So we just ended 3. And I believe we're going into 4 now. I have till 6, like I said. And then we have all the way to 17. So stick with me and keep learning about how this started, what has happened, and what their plan is. It is real. It is not a conspiracy. That is what they want you to believe to keep their secret society and their secret plans going. Do not fall for it. It is evil trickery, which you know about if you have any faith at all in anything. That evil plays tricks to get what it wants. So please do not fall for that, and let's get started. Okay, here's our recap. 3 years after Papal Bull that suppressed the Jesuit order, Adam Winshap, I think that's how you say Winshap. I'm getting closer. I know I am. And Lord Rothschild founded the Order of the Illuminati. Based on their sacred ancient documents, the I keep getting stuck on that. Illustratus and well-structured plan to conquer the world and all of humanity was put into action. The Jesuits' revenge scorched the earth. Europe paid the ultimate price for betraying the Jesuits' order. War after war raged, killing millions and leaving nothing but despair and fear among the masses. Each and every war further enhanced the Cabal, making the gap between them and the people bigger and bigger. Germany was bankrupt and destroyed by the time World War I had ended. Why not Austria-Hungary that had started the war? Because of the domination of the elite. Jesuit cabal in the empire. Protestant Germany was taken down, but the cabal had only just started. They proceeded with their destructive plans to subjugate the entire world by manipulating the stock market worldwide, starting in the U.S. Germany was to bleed even more. The events that sprang forth led to World War II. How did the Russian Revolution tie in? Just perfectly. Follow us to part 3. So we're heading into part 3, sorry. I think I just finished writing part 3. Now, again, I don't see how people can be in denial when you see this today in things. Everything and the way it's ran and what happens, it's history constantly repeating itself, which is what they teach you in school that they don't want you to do, but they are doing it, and you're watching it, and you're still in denial. It doesn't make sense to me. It really doesn't, but I hope you guys are starting to see what I see and a lot of other people see, because you need to, before we end up in another Nazi Germany. And if you think they won't do that again, they've already started. Okay, another history lesson in history you will learn the truth in, not the lies taught in school. In the previous parts, we saw how the French Revolution, the Napoleonic Wars, and World War I led to the destabilization. And again, I don't know why. And I asked a friend of mine if this happens to her, because she's in heading into her first year of college, and she says yes. After she reads and studies so long, she does it too. So I don't feel that bad. Let me start over. In the previous parts, we saw how the French Revolution, now I'm going to start with this one, right? Napoleonic War, World War I, led to the destabilization of Europe. Here is what happened next. It was time for the Cabal to take revenge on Russia. Once again, financed by their partners in crime, the Rothschilds. They started the Russian Revolution. Excuse me. Their pawn and front man, once again, a pawn and front man, was Lenin. Real name, and again, don't judge me, I cannot say these names. Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov. I said it earlier, and now I can't again, but it's a weird name. Ulyanov, I think is how you say it. Okay, and his birth and death dates were 1870 to 1924. Every historian will agree as a fact he was heavily influenced by Karl Marx. Why can't they all be that simple? 1818 to 1883. Again, life and death dates. The founder of the communism, Marx, was Russian. He was not German. Lenin was Russian, but he spent many years in exile in Switzerland, England, Finland, and Germany. He became almost a stranger to Russia. When the first part of the Russian Revolution broke out in February 1917, he was completely westernized. Marx had inspired him completely with his 1848 pamphlet, The Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. Lenin was not just inspired by Marx communism, it was also his Jesuit background. Marx was trained in Germany in a Jesuit school, and after that he was tutored by Jesuits in the I wrote this very small. British. I had to scribble something and I had wrote it so small. British Museum on the tenets of communism. This can be confirmed by a ex-Jesuit priest, Alberto Rivera. Again, why can't they be that simple? Jesuit whistleblower. And we all know who whistleblowers are. They always are people who either are in something and then they change their mind about it for whatever reason, or they don't know they're really a piece of something and find out that there's something dark going on behind them, and they get out and blow the whistle. So you're not going to believe him? And then, much less a priest, whether he was good or bad or knew or didn't, he was a priest and a whistleblower. So there's 2 proofs by him and reasons to believe him. Okay. 1935 to 1997, which again, here is proof by an ex-Jesuit priest, whistleblower. When they speak out, they get murdered. Anybody involved with this group ends up murdered. Why would you risk it? If, for any reason, I should say. So why would anyone, when they speak out, they get murdered. So why would anyone talk about it as well? You know, if you get caught, you are going to be killed. Why risk it? Unless you now see it is wrong, very, very wrong, because it's very, very evil, especially if you will end up murdered. I would have to say there'd have to be a big stake in it, which means it's very evil, and he would risk that. They will take him out. You now see it is wrong and that changes need to be made. Or you found out about what more was going on that you didn't know about, and it was against your beliefs and wanted to stop it, which is why people become whistleblowers. People believe this in and on any other situation or subject, in the fake news, in life, etc. Or they heard about it in life, but they don't want to believe in this major one subject and situation. People don't want to believe. You believe all the BS stories that the fake news throws at you. You'll believe anything about companies out there. You'll believe anything about even murders and cases and other cults and whatever's going on in the world today. But this one major one, where there's proof, they want to be in denial. I just don't get it. Somebody explain it to me. But we're giving you history from the beginning of time till now, and who has reported it, who has whistleblown, who has papers and documents. So I'm hoping you'll believe by the end. Okay. Fake news, hear about it in life, but they don't want to believe it in this major one. That is very important to them and their well-being. Please, someone explain it to me. I get the denial and all other mind shutdowns for all the protection reasons to yourself and your sanity, I guess. You know, you feel like it's too much to handle. But again, this one is so important. It's the most important one of your life and could really change your life for the worst. You cannot allow yourself to let that happen. You really need to wake up, face this head on, for it means and plays out to the biggest outcome in world history. To choose light or darkness, freedom or imprisonment, happiness or misery. It is you. It is your final choice in life as we know it. And what is to come of it. You cannot say you didn't know this was coming, especially if you are religious. And if you're not, you have still heard of it. It is here. It is time. The time is now. It is here. The time is now. You must stand against it and them for the right outcome. Okay, back to history. The whistleblower, the Jesuit priest. Here's where we left off. And Marx influencing Lenin. Another source of Marx being Jesuit and assistant bishop is Otto von Bismarck, 1815 to 1898, wrote in a paper, the North German Gazette, that Marx was under control of a Jesuit priest, Peter Breck, 1795 to 1887, then a superior general of Society of the Jesuits, then a superior general of the Society of Jesus. That was the shocker, of Jesus. And then there was more influence on his right hand man. Again, Lenin's right-hand man, Napoleon's right-hand man. They all place themselves perfectly around the one that they are using to make sure they do what they need them to do. They say and act how they need them to, or handle anything that needs to be handled inside his business. So on Lenin, his right-hand man, Felix, and don't ask me to say this last name, Dzerzhinsky, or maybe the D is silent, Dzerzhinsky, 1877 to 1926, who was the head of the Soviet secret police, who was a great admirer of the Jesuits. Furthermore, Lenin formally readmitted the Jesuits into Russia. Let me read that again. Okay. Who was the head of the Soviet secret police, who was a great admirer of the Jesuits, and furthermore, Lenin formally readmitted the Jesuits into Russia in 1922, which is strange as religion was prohibited at the time within communism. Or was it strange? The origin of communism lies in the Jesuits' ideology, as confirmed by many of historians. The Jesuits in the 17th and 18th centuries perfected the first system of communist governance in their reductions in Paraguay. In their Advent Catholic Encyclopedia, it reads on the conditions of property. The economic base was a sort of communism. The land and all that stood upon it was the property of the community. The land was... Sorry, I had to take a deep breath. The land was apportioned among the, and I hope I say this right, the Cacoites, the leaders of the indigenous groups, who allotted it to the families under them. Agricultural instruments and cattle were loaned from the community supply. No one was permitted to sell his plot of land or house. Very communist indeed. We will see later on even the saying social justice was made by the Jesuits. The first man to name it and write about it was the Jesuit Luigi Temporali di Azigo. I don't know. I'm not even trying anymore. Lenin was the Jesuit puppet that was pushed forward to destabilize and destroy the country. He hated Russia and the Russians. Some of his most favorite lines and favorite quotes were, "I spit on Russia. While the state exists, there can be no freedom. When there is freedom, there can be no state. May 90% of Russians die, and the other 10 live under communism." The Russian Revolution was a Jesuit attack on the country. The motive, revenge. The pawn, Lenin. The tool, Bolsheviks. They were with the equivalent of the Jacobins during the French Revolution. Millions of people died in Russia between 1917 and 1923. The revolution then ended with the Bolsheviks' founding of the Soviet Union. Now, you're going to have to forgive me. I did a lot of scribbling here. This is when I said I faded out the other day. Okay. Now, before we move on to World War II, where we will share with you a discovery that almost knocked us off our feet. So keep watching. We are going to look at a chain of events in the U.S. Now, this one kind of made sense. I'm going to say it before I start reading. You know, when the Titanic sunk, they said it was an unsinkable ship. And an iceberg shouldn't have taken it down. Maybe there was something else that hit the bottom. Maybe there was something else that happened. But I also, through studies, and again, you know, people like these groups want to keep things silent, and they don't want to teach us the truth because they don't want us to know what really happened. But also through studies, it was then, you know, got out there that there was leaks placed in this boat. Before it was even sinking, there was things wrong and it was taking on water. I heard through people who did studies on it. And they couldn't make sense of it, though. But they knew there was calls or talks of leaks in this boat that was built indestructible, that had no leaks before, that shouldn't have been there. So, did somebody tamper with the Titanic? Did somebody hit it with something afterwards? Was it meant to go down, even though it was supposed to be an unsinkable ship? So think about that, because I have watched even studies today where divers go down and they see where the boat dragged along the bottom as it was sinking, and so on and so on. So they're still looking into that, you know, how many years later? And the fact that one part ended up way further away from the other part, something's not right. It doesn't make sense. What broke the boat in half? Something that was so indestructible. I can't make sense of it, but maybe this does. And it was, you know, kind of hard for me to think about until I realized I'd watched these documentaries and these studies and have seen and heard things on this. Questions of how these things happened. Okay. Maybe you remember from part 2 that in 1913, the U.S. Federal Reserve was founded. Let me start over. I hate reading something wrong. Maybe you remember from part 2 that in 1913, the U.S. Federal Reserve was founded, the mother of all banks, owned by several of the Cabal families, among the Rothschilds. Do you remember what happened to the 3 most wealthy and most influential men that were their main opponents? They all 3 conveniently died when the Titanic sunk. Less than a year later, the Fed was a done deal. So the 3 that were standing in the way and holding them back disappear, and they get what they want finally. Which is how everything in their pathway has worked so far. Has it not? Okay. Let me find my spot again. Okay. Less than a year later, the Fed was a done deal. In the U.S., at that time, about 21,000 banks did not fall under the jurisdiction of the Fed. Then, and still, is an absolute lethal thing to do. One might as well commit suicide, as history has proven over and over again. And that's how they kept knocking out banks, so that they would become the sole one. Again, they are the sole one. Every time somebody tries to open banks, they get knocked down so that they can be the sole one again. Okay. And worldwide at that. Not just here in the U.S. Worldwide. I almost forgot that because it was on the next line. So, it's been proven over and over again worldwide. In 1914, World War I started. World War I was from 1914 to 1918. 1 year after the establishment of the Federal Reserve. Between 1914 and 1919, the Fed doubled the money supply, causing a nationwide increase in lending. In 1920, it shrank the money supply, and 5,500 competitor banks went bankrupt once again. They took out the rest of what they needed to. Okay. They were bought by the Fed, of course, for next to nothing again. Between 1921 and 1929, the Fed increased the money supply again. Loans were everywhere, but in October 23rd, 1929, 2.6 million shares were sold in a frenzy. By whom? Not hard to guess. The next day, on October 24th at 9 a.m., Wall Street had closed, and the money makers outside were slowly starting to realize, in a state of shock, what had happened. Loans were called in, and investors were forced to sell their shares. This event is known in history as the Wall Street Crash. The Wall Street Crash brought the rest of the world to its knees, too. 16,000 competitive non-Fed banks again went bankrupt. They too were bought for next to nothing. Do you see it yet? It was called the greatest robbery in history, and it still happens today. And you still have your inside traders that walk with no punishment. Only if they're the rich of the rich. And they play it the way they want it. The money's there when they want it. It's not when they want it. Can you or I ever strike it rich? that way? Absolutely not. They will never allow it. They want to keep us where they want us, and that is it. Period. Okay. It was called the greatest robbery in history, but it was not enough for them. The Fed reduced the money supply even further by 30%, causing starvation throughout the U.S. The Rothschilds had done what they had been successfully doing since the French Revolution, manipulating the stock market at the expense of the people to further increase their wealth and power and continue to cause everyone else to suffer. And you think they won't do it again? Because who still owns these? The same people. The same people, the same extremely wealthy, that they don't even need that kind of money. People keeping it greedy, keeping it all to them, keeping their families fat and healthy and fed and taken care of, while they keep purposely sinking the rest of us. Wake up. Wake up, people. And wait until they try again to, destroy more people, take more lives, and get what they want once again. How many times have they done this so far? You don't think it's going to happen again? You better wake up. Okay. Lewis Thomas McFadden, 1876 to 1936. Congressman McFadden was so horrified, he began impeachment hearings against the bankers who own the Federal Reserve. Like we have said before, he might as well have just committed suicide. Straight away, he was poisoned at a banquet, and the impeachment was abandoned. One simply does not get in the way of the Hazarian Cabal. So anytime somebody tries to do something right, what happens to them? They end up dead. 4 years after the Wall Street crash in 1933, on the pretext of getting out of the Depression, the banks persuaded the government to carry out a national gold seizure. Now, come on. The government is not stupid. So the proof is they have to be a part of this because they are not stupid. And this is a very stupid move for everybody involved. You can see it clear as day. Okay. Or a penalty of imprisonment for 10 years. So you give up what's yours, or you'll be put in prison for 10 years. Your rights are already gone at that point. Under executive order of the president, this is the signs that were out there. Issued in 1933. All persons are required to deliver on or before May 1st, 1933, all gold coins, gold bullions, and gold certificates now owned by them to the Federal Reserve Bank, branch or agency, or any member bank of the Federal Reserve System. Executive order. Postmaster, please post in a conspicuous place James A. Farley, Postmaster General. So, the president, who's supposed to protect the people, then helped them get robbed of all their gold and still stay poor and in a depression. Okay. Like I said, nobody in that seat is ever going to help you. I said it before I seen this. I've said it for years. I've said it since I was about 12 years old. I don't know why the camera makes my hair look like there's a blotch there when there's not. Sorry, guys, but I've been saying it since I've been following this since I was a kid. I don't understand it. And how people continue to fall for this crap or believe it is beyond me. Nobody you put in any government position or a president's chair is going to ever help you. Like they said, the Rothschilds, I believe it was, the Rothschilds, I shouldn't even have said who I believe it was. I know it was. I know when it beeps, you guys lose the sound, so I have to stop. Sorry. The Rothschild said, whoever owns the money is the one who's running what's going on. And he owns the money. He doesn't care what puppet they put in that seat, whether it's back then kings and queens and now presidents. They are puppets. Whoever holds the money and has the money is the one in charge. And to this day, they are the one in charge. Remember those words that he spoke. That was a phrase of his that has been written down and put around that he made of his own. I don't care what puppet they put in those chairs. The one who has the money is the one in charge. They are the ones with the money. What are you not getting? There's your proof. There is your proof in his own statement. And to this day, they are the same people. They are the same ones holding all the money. And they're the same people doing the same thing. It's time to wake up. Okay. The right under pressure of the Fed, the right under pressure of the Fed, President Roosevelt signed the executive order 6102 to make the impoverished American people give up their gold. They had nothing left. With the gold standard gone, the Cabal had no more limitations on how they could manipulate the money supply. This meant absolute dominance. On top of everything else, income tax was created in 1913 to cover the huge amount of money the government was paying the Federal Reserve. For what? For what? What are we paying the Federal Reserve for? Can anybody answer that question? Who's the Federal Reserve? Rich people? Excuse me. I'm gonna wipe my chapstick off. Who is the Federal Reserve? Who are they? They're the Rothschilds. Same people stealing our money from the beginning of all of this. The same exact people. And who are they? What are we giving them money for? Why are we paying income taxes? It was something made up just to keep giving them money. Because they say so. It's another scam and scandal to keep us down. Okay, it's starting to get dark, so let me finish reading. Okay. They had nothing left. With the gold standard gone, the Cabal had no more limitations on how they could manipulate the money supply. This meant absolute dominance. On top of everything else, income tax was created in 1913 to cover a huge amount of money the government was paying the Federal Reserve. Like we said in part 1, like we said in part 2, I don't know why I even said 1. I'm looking at 2. My brain is cooked after all this. I'm sorry. Like we said in part 2, income tax is illegal. We were just never told. You're being told now. It's illegal. It's not real. There's not a reason for it. You're just giving your money to rich people. For what? What are they doing for us? They're a secret society. They're nobody. Why are we giving them our money? I don't get it. And I don't get how you don't understand it or get it. If you don't believe. Of the previous series, by the way. It was part 2 of the previous series. Not this one. Income tax is illegal. We were just never told. We talked about that in the actual fall of the Cabal. Not this one. One of the desired consequences of the Wall Street crash was that the Fed called in all international loans. The country that was affected the worst was Germany. After World War I, the country had to pay reparations to the victims, for which it desperately needed the loans, as well as for rebuilding the country and the economy. So there was the revenge some more on Germany. Because by calling in the loans, they just left Germany as well in a depression and poor and starving, just like they were Americans. So they were getting everybody they wanted to take down. And again, you don't think they would do this again? Are you crazy? Are you crazy? You have to know that they haven't succeeded fully in their plan, but they intend to. If it doesn't work this time, they'll get us next time. If it doesn't work next time, they'll get us the next time. But they've been working on this for a long time, and as you can see, your rights have Your rights have slowly been disappearing. You have no say-so anymore, not in your own life, not in your house again, not in nothing. And they will violate you any chance or time they get. And they're censoring us more and more and more, which is our free speech. They're just trying to do it smarter and slower so that you don't notice until they really got you. Wake up, people. It's history repeating itself. And they've been slowly and sneakily been doing it a little bit at a time, instead of trying to hit us all at once so that we don't even know it's coming. Well, we know, and we need to spread the word and wake everybody up. It's coming again. Wake up. Please. If not for yourself, for your children and for their children. When the feds called in their loans, the German economy collapsed. The country divided into a deep depression. That same winter, about 2 million people were unemployed. Less than 3 years later, that number had tripled, meaning a staggering unemployment rate of 40%. The government expenses to support these people were thrown through the roof. The chancellor canceled unemployment support in a desperate move. That just made everything worse. More chancellors came and went. Nobody knew what to do with this mess. People were losing their faith in democracy. Music to the Cabal's ears. And sought the help of the extreme left, the communists, or the extreme rights, the Nazis. In other words, there was no help. Either way they went, they were going to get it. These poor people. These poor, poor people. I want to cry every time I listen to it and read it. Nobody deserves this. And again, you cannot allow this to happen again. People should never have to go through this. This is not what we're put on this earth for. For evil, for greed, for people to take advantage of you, to do horrible things to you. This is not our freedom. This is not our life. This is not what it was meant to be. We were put here to be happy and live free. And it's time we stand up and do. And I'm going to chalk this off right here and hope I remember this is where I left off, because I'm running out of time. And I don't want to run out where I just got to click off, because it's kind of rude. Okay, it was music to the Cabal's ears. They sought the help of the extreme left and the extreme right, the Nazis. And I'm going to check this right off and put left off here. I'm going to rip my paper. And I'll mark it better later, but I didn't want to lose my spot. And I think it's a good place where we left off, because we could pick up right there where everything started with the Nazis on my next video. But that's who ended up winning in the election, the Nazis. Now we go into, of course, Hitler. And was he a part of it all? Was he another pawn? Who was Hitler? You will soon find out. Now, it's got to be a pretty sad day in life when you know, no matter which way you turn, it's not going to be a good outcome. And these people had to feel that. You got your communists, you got your Nazis, and you got the cabal. And there is no help coming. Right now, we got help. Right now, we are strong enough. Right now, we are many. And we are not going to allow this to happen. And you need to know where to stand. Because again, do you want to be on top of the bomb, behind the bomb, in front of the bomb? Or do you want to be the ones helping take down the evil bomb? You know, you have the information and you have the choice. Make the right one. Stay with me to keep following the story, and to keep following the history lesson, and to keep following the truth. It's here. It's coming. And it's time to wake up. And I will leave you at that. Once again, I do this because I know what the truth is. And I care. And I want all of you to know. And I don't want you to be surprised or caught off guard or sitting on top of that evil bomb when it comes. Now, we've already had some help. And again, people have woken. And there are people in the works of taking these people down. And you're seeing signs of it every day. And you're going to start seeing a whole lot more. And a lot of evidence is going to come out. And I hope by then you will definitely know the truth is real. And that everything we've been saying is real. And that there's a choice. You know, you don't have to just keep falling in line with, sorry, this is crazy how this, when you're on camera, it makes it look like it's separated when it's not, but it drives me nuts. Now I lost my track of thought. It's just, I hope that you see the evidence and you see what's coming out. And as more evidence comes out, I hope you see it clearer and clearer, because there's no way you're going to be able to deny it when the big stuff comes out. Unless you're just crazy and you're going to say, oh, well, you know, this person was part of it, but nobody else was. Once again, they're all a part of it. They're all together. They all work together. They all know what's going on. You can't have one person in a group of people who are doing all the same stuff, but this one person is innocent, or this one person is guilty and everybody else is innocent. No, they are all tied together. Again, Epstein, the island, everybody on the island, everybody who's visited the island, they're all in cahoots. And it's going to come out. And so is a lot of other stuff that's really sick. And again, if you want to know the truth and you want to go deeper into it, watch the first one. The first documentary. As I'm going over the sequel with you, watch the first documentary. I gave it to you, but I didn't give it to you in full detail because they won't allow it on here. I just gave you the parts that they would allow on here. Or allow me to talk about, I should say, on here. The other stuff is too disturbing to even go into. So, if you want to know the truth, the deep, dark truth, and everybody who's involved and what's going on, watch The Fall of the Cabal. And stay here with me for the sequel. And again, just watch it and come and talk with me. Join, subscribe so that we can talk about it. And we can, if you want to give me your argument, if you want to give me some information, if you want to put your 2 cents in, join so we can talk about it. That's what I'm looking for. The interaction. So I'm getting to that limit where I'm going to have to close it out. I love you guys. Take care. Subscribe. Join me. Come talk with me. Please. That's what I'm looking for. You guys have a great night. Love your family. You don't know what tomorrow holds. And I will see you tomorrow. God bless.